Sons of Kemet were a British avant-garde jazz group from London. They existed from 2011 to 2022 and they released 4 albums. They particularly featured brass instruments and percussion. Hi, my name is Dan. So this was the 3rd album by Sons of Kemet and my first encounter with them. So therefore, obviously, with this album as well. And I'm not quite sure how to describe this. Wikipedia describes it as being avant-garde jazz, and I'm not sure how much I agree with that, but I guess it could apply. And I guess partly because avant-garde means kind of off the wall, and if it's off the wall of everything else, why not off the wall jazz? Okay. It's mostly instrumental stuff with occasional poetry read over it. Most of it's instrumental, and I think it's more like I would describe it as a bizarre version of afrobeat. Uh, However, I think that relies on you knowing afrobeat and me being right about afrobeat as well, which is kind of a world music thing which generally uses pop rock instruments and has very long tracks. Particularly thinking of Fela Kuti here. And basically they set up a rhythm and then do stuff on top of that. And sometimes they're singing, sometimes they're talking. And that's kind of what this is. But I guess, in defense of those who are calling it jazz, I guess that's kind of, you could call it jazz in that sense. In other ways, it's got some stuff in common with funk, I guess, which is that it's about a groove. It's maybe got something in common with ambient, but it's not really ambient. Well, it's partly ambient, maybe. Oh dear, you just kind of have to listen to it to work it out. So it's basically grooves of percussion with some sax improvisation on top. I guess improvisation also leans it towards the label jazz. Often, I think, with 2 drummers. The thing that gives it an odd sound compared to a lot of things is that it uses a tuba instead of either a double bass or so that's an acoustic bass or an electric bass, which gives it quite an odd sound to it. So musically, it's interesting. It's a bit unusual. Mostly, there's a kind of similar feel to most of the tracks. Right, I'm going to talk about the album name and the track names. So the album name refers to a conspiracy theory that the British royal family have been replaced by lizard aliens. I don't think they're proposing that that's actually true, but they're kind of hooking into that. And then the actual track names, which are basically My Queen is Somebody, My Queen is Somebody. These are prominent black women, most of them uh, historical and well known. The first one is some relative of one of the people in the band. Now, the whole thing then put together with this naming stuff makes a social statement about British royalty being white and therefore not representing black immigrants. Um, and I guess I can't really argue with that. I can see how you could say the British royalty were white. That's fair enough. Um, Mostly, I'd say this is I said the grooves, translate grooves is kind of, it's a decent listen. I think my favourite track is My Queen is Nanny of the Maroons, and I felt the need to go and look up who Nanny of the Maroons was to contextualise that, which is a quieter track than some of the others, and has some nice, quiet, sensitive sax playing in it. Um, it probably, I would say, despite all the things that I've said that kind of justify the label of jazz, I think it might appeal more to people who are world music fans than as a jazz album, because the word jazz is a bit misleading here, despite all that. I reasonably enjoyed it. I quite like world music. I quite like some bits of jazz as well. So I found it quite acceptable. And as always at this point, I'd love to ask you to tell me what you think of this album. So please do by leaving a comment. And that's it from me for now.